Hello, and welcome back to the Authentic Creative Expanding Your Capacity to Feel Good. I am really happy because I have Maren here, and Maren is a dear friend, and we've become close really quickly. We met at a retreat and were roommates before knowing each other.
hmm
And I told this story on her podcast recently, but I just think it's fun. We were roomies, and I mean, right away, we were just like super comfortable. I was like, do you mind if we were both like, do you mind if I'm in the bathroom with you? Nah, it's good. Like, we both have kids, so we're used to having the bathroom door open. Like, I'm in the shower, she's doing her makeup. And then I think it was the first night. I couldn't sleep because there was light coming in through the window and I just couldn't sleep, couldn't sleep, couldn't sleep. And I was finally like, I gotta crawl over her to get the
To get to the
shades
blinds.
closed. She's gonna think I'm insane because I'm crawling over her in the middle of the night. I don't know her very well. And anyway, it was all good. But just super fun, like hot tubbing and going to the retreat with you in Marina Del Rey and just seeing you glow from the inside out. And then like doing my high vibe playlist with you and you,
hmm
like we were just loving each other's vibe.
Yeah.
And so we've continued to be friends and we're going to do it again soon. But here's her bio. So she is a glow coach. And if you haven't heard the term glow coach before, we're going to get into it. She's a podcast host, guiding women to connect with their inner goddesses and embody them fully. After overcoming feelings of being unseen and unheard, she now helps others break free from fear, shame, and judgment to find their true voice. I mean, who doesn't need that? We all experience those things, right? So, as the host of the Wild Serenity podcast, which is such a freaking cool name, Maren explores inner wholeness and self love, supporting authenticity in dress, appearance, and style. She provides a safe space to uncover personal truths and embrace radical self assurance. So, you can connect with her on her website, marenswensen.com. I'll put it in the show notes, and you can check out her free guide for an instant glow up. Maren, you look so pretty, and you always do. And I'm just really wanting to get into how you've figured out dressing as a form of expression from the inside out. And I also want to get into your childhood, but also I want to know about this instant glow up thing. So
Yeah.
maybe we actually just start from the beginning. Like
Okay.
where did you grow up?
Okay. Yeah. So, I also want to say it's taken me, I'm almost 40 years old and it's taken me this long to really fine tune who I am and what I do. And you probably no one's heard the term glow coach because I made it up for myself. And I'm sure other people have done that too, but I don't think it's like a typical term. You just type in Google it comes up. But it's
Yeah.
like people like you who I've become friends with who have really seen me and really heard me because we have such a great a very similar vibration and frequency of wanting to put love out into the world, who have really helped me hone that glow and figure out what I'm good at and what I have to offer. So thank you for that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I grew up back east in upstate New York, and I grew up in a really high demand religion and a very conservative culture. Um, can you pause it? Just pause it. Don't stop it.
Okay. All right. So we're back because mommy had a mommy moment, and this is so real life. It's so real
Yeah.
life, guys. Oh my gosh, your kid had a play date and he wasn't playing with his friend. That happens to me all the time. It's like you think that you've set it all up, you've prepared, you're ready, let's go, and then life.
Yeah.
So,
Woo. Okay, yeah. So I grew up back there. I was in the LDS religion. It's commonly known as Mormon. The official name is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And that was my world, was school, family, church. And church was and so a lot of my messaging and a lot of what I was taught, a lot of really great things I was taught, some things that did not sit right with me. That was how I grew up.
yeah.
So, yeah.
It's so fascinating when people have a religion that doesn't all the way sit right with them, and then how you reconcile with that and how that becomes this catalyst for your growth and this
Yeah.
way of having a deeper understanding of what you really want for yourself. And then finding those new avenues and those new, pioneer, because you're really like pioneering
Yeah.
something. It's very radical, right?
Thank you. Yeah, it's been definitely been a huge part of my journey because I've really had to do it totally alone. And when
Yeah.
you're in a high demand religion, like there's so many stories. I mean, people can relate to this probably, but me believing that religion and staying, on its path and doing all the things it tells me to do and believe all those things are all tied
Mhm.
up with me being a good person and me being worthy of God's love and me being saved in the eternities. And it has a lot of very intense stories. And so
Yes.
when you get to a place where you're like, but these doctrinal things don't sit right with me, they don't feel like my truth, but then there's all this fear of what's going to happen to me in the eternities. And I'm the only one in my family and even my marriage who's like not agreeing with this, but I have too much
Wow.
integrity. I just have to follow what
Your
feels right to
heart.
me. Yeah. And so that I think I designed it that way, honestly, before I came
Mm,
here. I think it was like this was
yes.
part of my growth that I had to learn independence and be okay being my own person. And
Yes.
it's been but so that's all been really good for me, but very
That's
hard.
such a that's such an empowering perspective to be like, you know what? My soul chose this specific scenario so that I could learn to individuate. I have close
Yeah.
friends, one of them who I interviewed, that having a psilocybin journey after being a Mormon saved him. He was like sick. He couldn't leave his house because it was so,
Oh,
he was like so steeped in the religion, and it was like really
yeah.
like tearing him and his wife up from the inside out.
Yeah.
And now they've left, and like their whole family, everyone is still in the religion.
Yeah.
So it's really been hard for them,
Yeah. And I think, the religion, any religion, I think can be someone's truth and answer and
right?
not for others, right? Like there were
Yep.
times in my life because that's the context I was operating under. It served me and it did give me comfort and direction and peace. And
Hmm.
then I got to a point where it wasn't any longer and I had to it was kind of like peeling layers of an onion.
Yeah.
Like until I could really get to my core. And since then, my religious experience definitely influenced me and had a lot of impact on me, but it's really not even about the religion itself. It's more like because I feel like I talk to lots of women and people who all relate to kind of the same base
Yeah.
problems, I guess.
Of those conditionings that are kind of
Yeah.
across the
Yeah,
board. Yeah.
needing to live up to other people's expectations, feeling fear of not conforming, worried about not being good enough, messaging with what you're supposed to do versus what you feel is truth. Like those are like universal human condition problems. I
Right.
just happen to experience them within a high demand religion. And so I've had to do a lot of work and thank that era of my life and
Mm.
recognize the good in it while also detaching from it and recognizing where it does not serve me and letting it go and forging a new path. And some
Oh, it's
people,
beautiful.
right, some people leave their religions and they get stuck in the pain of what it
Mm.
caused them and they have a
Mm.
really hard time moving on. And I
Hmm.
was like very determined that I didn't want to feel pain anymore because it was a very painful transition for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to find happiness and joy in my truth and I'm going to have to get I can't get stuck here, right? And so it's to a point now where I've been really like emotionally out for a few years and technically officially my name is removed off records for like not even a year, but
Wow.
I'm so
You've
far
done
into my
so
new
much
life
work.
that I'm
Yes,
like I
yes.
don't even remember like
Wow.
what that person and I'm so far removed from it and I feel so I don't feel the burden of it anymore because I love who I am now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just seeing it as this coat that you've just stepped out of, and you're just free. You're just free. And you're like,
Yeah.
I've shed this coat.
Yeah.
That is not serving
Yeah.
me anymore. And it did, like you said, it served you
Yeah.
for what it was, for when it was, and it serves maybe other people, and that's okay
Yeah.
too. But it isn't serving you anymore. And you've
Yeah.
recreated yourself from the inside out, and you've deeply transformed yourself through all these various practices and ways that you have transformed and learned and grown. And now you're like so passionate and excited to help other women,
Yeah.
not just specifically from, religious strict
Yeah.
situations, but like just in any way that we've conditioned ourselves to
Hmm.
hold ourselves small, to hold ourselves back.
Yeah.
And that's
Insecurity,
so many of
sadness,
us.
loneliness. Oh my gosh, loneliness. Like that's why we're all trying to be the same because we're so afraid of being lonely, you know?
Yeah,
But
abandoned,
yeah.
isolated. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So you grew up in New York, and then
Hmm.
where did you go from there?
I graduated in upstate New York and then I went to BYU, which is Brigham Young University, a church-run school. Met my first husband there, got married when I was 19, followed the very typical Mormon path laid out for me and what was expected of me from my culture and my family life. Um, I actually had a degree in BYU didn't have a degree in like fashion design, which is what I really wanted to do. And I was kind of stuck there because my husband was there and we were really focused on what he was going to do. And so
Hmm.
I got the closest thing they had was a home and family living degree with an emphasis in clothing construction. So that's what I did in college.
How do you even remember that? That's insane.
Because I had to explain it to so many people.
Oh my gosh.
Um, anyway, so I did that, but then and I also went to hair school, worked as a hairstylist and through college.
That's so fun. That was a dream of mine, was to be a hairdresser.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so
Did
fun.
that. And then once I graduated from college, I did that for a year and then I got pregnant and then stayed home with my babies. I taught piano, but I was mostly a stay-at-home mom and I
You
lived in like
taught
this little world,
piano?
this
What?
little bubble.
Wait,
Yeah.
you taught piano?
Yeah, I'm a musician. I love
I
to
didn't
sing.
know
I love to
this.
compose. I play guitar, sing, songwrite with my husband.
Oh my God,
I
Maren, what's happening? This is like
yeah.
a whole other side of you I'm not even aware of. This is how new of friends we are. I want to hear more
Yeah.
about you as a musician, please. Can you just share a little bit more about you as a
Yeah.
musician?
I'm def I'm a pianist. That's really first and foremost what I did. I've been writing my own musicals and writing my own songs since I was like 8 years old.
Oh my
Pounding away on
God.
that piano. I can we pause
This,
for one more second? I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm a musician. Piano is my instrument. And then I also played viola growing up and I play guitar. I mean, play guitar. I have to say that with air quotes because all that really means is I like taught myself some chords and can strum. But that's
It's
actually how
more
I
than I can
met.
do.
It's how I met my husband actually is through music. We lived in the same neighborhood. We actually were in the same church congregation. Um, and I needed help on a project and I knew he was a singer-songwriter, so I reached out to him. I mean, he was an acquaintance already, but I reached out to him to help me with some stuff. And then we started collaborating and writing and performing together and
You,
fell
you,
madly in love. So
that's so beautiful. You said you're writing musicals?
I did when I was young. I spent a lot of, I think I wrote like four or five. My first one was to the soundtrack of Journey's Greatest Hits. I had my older siblings were Journey fans and we had like their piano book for the greatest hits. And so I learned how to play that before I even listened to Journey songs. And so I have like every single word memorized of that album. And I
Oh
wrote
my
like a whole
gosh.
play around it and made my sister act out a bunch of scenes with me and had dreams of, performing it someday. But I was doing stuff like that forever. So,
This is
yeah.
amazing. This is so
Yeah.
amazing. Oh my gosh. And you and your husband are so beautiful together.
Oh, thank you.
I can tell you have so much trust and love with each other. And so this is all part of what you
Yeah.
can build upon, what you've built upon to serve the women that you serve. Like,
Yeah. And that's been a journey too. My husband and I met under tumultuous circumstances. Um, we were both married to our previous spouses when we were friends, and then when we fell in love, and obviously in pretty bad places, and we caused quite a scandal, and we went through divorces, and then ended up marrying each other, and we eloped to Vegas, and blended our families, and we've been married now for 7 years, and together like 8-ish. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. And so, and
Wow.
then while we both had lots of baggage behind us and stuff to work through, and we just jumped in and loved each other desperately. And then we've had to work through a lot. Like that, while I've been married to him, we had another baby together. I moved, we bought a house, we blended our families. We've had to deal with a lot of that kind of drama. I left the church we were both in, and he's kind of in his own place figuring out his stuff. And it's just been a lot. I was working and then I quit, and now I'm back to figuring out what I really wanted to do and kind of doing this entrepreneurial thing. And here we go. So it's just a lot.
Oh my gosh, it's so incredible. You have so much resilience and strength and a capacity to continuously come back to your authenticity. I mean, I
Well,
see
thank
that that's
you.
a core value for you is
Yeah.
living your true, wildest, most serene life.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like it took me meeting my husband, Pat. That was definitely like the unlock for me. Before then, I'd always kind of been my own person. And like in high school, especially, I was very different because I was part of this religion that was like such a little minute piece of that place. And so I had like really quote high standards and stayed away from doing things other kids were doing. Like I was
Mm.
no drinking, no drugs. I couldn't even wear a tank top or short shorts. Like
Hmm.
I just had a very different kind of lifestyle, and I was set apart that way. And then I went to college and got married, and I put a lot of my peace and a lot of my authority and answers in someone else. And for
Yeah.
me, that someone else was like my church leaders, my vision or version of who I thought God was, my husband, like my dad, like just anyone outside of myself. And I spent a lot of years chasing like that good girl persona and being
Mm.
the righteous, spiritual, patriarchal daughter.
Wow.
And then finally I was not very happy. Then I was fine, but I wasn't very happy. And
I
then I
think
met my
that's the
husband.
key. That's the key there that you just shared. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were fine, but you weren't
I
happy.
was fine, but I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And then Pat, the reason why I say meeting him was the catalyst, like my unlock of starting me on this new journey and finding the real Maren, was because he was, for the first time in my entire life, he could see me. He was the only
Mm.
person I'd felt like who could ever see me. And it was
Mm.
like we had this connection way before we like even really fell in love, way before we ever got physically involved with each other. He was just like this person who I suddenly felt comfortable with and could share like deep, shameful things that I was experiencing or felt that I couldn't share with anyone else. And I knew he wouldn't judge me. I knew he would understand. He had like this uncanny ability to pull things out of me, thoughts out of my head, and give them voice when I couldn't even say them out loud or even fully form them in my head because I didn't understand what I was even trying to say. And he would
Wow.
say it out loud, and I'd be like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking or feeling. So it was the feeling seen and feeling heard by someone for the first time. That was like, oh, real Maren's in here somewhere, and she's coming up.
That's incredible. And now, through him giving you that gift, which he probably didn't even try to give you, it was just natural for him to see you
Yeah,
and natural for him to love you and natural for him to create safe space for you because he loved you.
yeah,
But now you've taken that experience and you're giving that to others and you're being like, I'm going to do this for you.
yeah,
I'm going to see you and I'm going to understand you and I'm going to show you how I've done what I've done, but in your own version.
yeah.
Everyone
Can we
can
pause one more
relate.
second?
Yeah, everyone
Sorry.
can relate to that.
Yeah, so his ability to see through my external person and see inward to my glow is that was I was like 29 and I'm 38 now. And so it seriously catapulted me. He didn't know it at the time. I didn't know it at the time, but that was the start of my journey. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So, question for you,
Mhm.
connecting with the fear and the shame.
Yeah. Oh,
So
man, I
what
have a
are
lot of fear
some
and shame. Whew. Yeah.
what are some practical strategies that you recommend for women struggling with feelings of fear or shame? So how can they begin to reclaim their true voice? Like what is maybe one half step that you start to work on?
Yeah. Okay. So I want to touch on 2 points because I feel like my first point is meditation or breath work, some or a combination, but something, some kind of practice that puts you right in your body and like forces you to deal with what you're feeling and who you are. And that
Mm-hmm.
was a practice that I had not developed. I was like, prayer was obviously kind of my version of it in my previous life,
Mm-hmm.
but the way prayer was presented to me was always had a stick of like, you do this so that you can be a good person, so that you can be spiritual, so you can be close to God, so that you can. And it was never like, oh, you do it to help yourself. It had like a lot of worthiness wrapped up in it for me.
Got
And I
it.
never felt close to God that way because the version of God that was presented to me isn't my truth.
Mm-hmm.
So meditation or some version, breath work, as a breathwork facilitator and also master meditator, that was what really helped me start debunking and deconstructing the stories that were keeping me in fear and keeping me in shame. Because if you're not even aware of what you're feeling, like, how are you going to fix it? Like
Mm-hmm.
I had to really be able to sit with myself and let those feelings come up and recognize like, oh, I'm feeling icky feelings and I'm having really mean thoughts that
Mm.
I don't even like, thoughts I don't agree with, but they're here and I have to deal with them and figure out why I'm feeling them. So meditation was a spiritual practice I did, and then some therapy with internal family systems was
Oh
like a more
yeah.
scientific route. But I did those together, and mostly it was almost like I just learned about internal family systems and then applied the principles while I was meditating and
Interesting.
stopped beating myself up for having terrible thoughts, stopped beating myself
Yes.
up for the feelings that
Yes.
were coming up, and instead looked at it more like, what is this trying to teach me? Why is my ego feeling these things? What's it trying to keep me safe from? How can I move past it? How can I use it as a learning experience? So I always feel like meditation, breath work, like anyone can do it. It's universal. It's free. It's like, it's the most inclusive practice. It works for everyone. It will have the biggest life-changing effects it's like you get the hugest bang for your buck with that
Mm-hmm.
practice, in my opinion.
I mean, head tingles when you were just sharing about your experience about how you were meditating and doing the internal family systems work together.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you you worked fast once you decided that you were going
I
to have a
do.
different life.
That's, yeah,
Yes.
it is kind of a superpower of mine. Like my human design profile is a manifesting generator and
Same.
and a sacral authority. And I like the minute I decide something, I really can get moving. It's runs in my dad's side of the family. But yeah, so the second part, I would say on a more practical standpoint, and this is something I do like with clients or in the programs I hold, um, we do an exercise where I have like a whole sheet of headless women dressed
Okay.
in all body shapes, culture, like,
Uh-huh.
colors, and they're dressed in all sorts of different outfits. And we have them all the way from like giant blingy beautiful runway dresses to a t-shirt and workout shorts, or a girl who looks like she just stepped off the beach, and we go through them and we rate and take note of where we're triggered and what
That's
emotion
good.
and impression it's causing in us. That's what kind of where the fashion part comes in. And then we use that to discover, what is this telling me about myself and where am I not feeling expressed and allowed to be seen in myself? Because I feel like, we only self-project. So we only criticize in others the things that we're critical of ourselves for.
Yep.
So I just did this with a group of women in my Glow Getter little container, and it was very interesting because when we were sharing, everyone had very different triggers and very different
Mm.
experiences, and
Mm.
certain colors and certain fabrics and certain energies from the way even the women were posed had messages and feelings that it brought up for each individual. And it wasn't saying we should dress like them. It was more like, why am I bothered by this? Why am I bothered by how sexy someone looks? Why am I bothered by how plain someone looks? Why am I bothered by any of these things? And then we can use that as a teaching tool. Like for me, this is funny. I have like a lot of women in the culture I grew up in get very triggered by like girls who are dressed, what we would consider to be ultra sexy, lots of skin showing, tight
Mhm.
clothing, things that show our curves very well. And usually it's because we've had a lot of messaging and repression around expressing and owning and loving and appreciating our own feminine sexuality. And so I've worked through all of that. But what I notice now is that sometimes I don't get like triggered, but I definitely notice that I have like impressions or judgment sometimes where I'll
Mhm.
look at someone, I'll be like, oh, they're so plain. Isn't that
Mm.
interesting? And then because it's so opposite from how I'm always trying to stand out. My favorite thing is to walk into a room wearing an outfit that is so loud that everyone looks at me and I don't even care if they like it. I can tell when people don't like it and they're like snickering or they're whispering, and I love it. There's something about like I love ruffling feathers.
Disruptor. Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it's because I have felt so unseen and so unheard. It's my
Right.
way of expressing myself and grabbing people's attention and not being the same because I don't want to be the same. I don't want to be the same. And so
Yes.
that's why I can notice like this is how I use that. It's not that I have mean judgments and think someone shouldn't dress like that. It's more like, ooh, that stands out to me because it's the opposite of how I'm trying to feel. Does that make
Right.
sense? So I use that as
Yes.
a teaching tool, self-reflection, and to help other people figure out where is it that they're feeling they're not aligned inside.
It's
So those are
so
my two things I
fascinating.
would start with.
Oh my gosh, the psychology of colors and fabrics and the way someone's posturing and what they're wearing
Yeah.
was, again, mind tingles because this should be taught in school. I mean,
Yeah.
how fabulous. I could
It
see you
has such huge
teaching.
impact on us and we
Yeah.
don't even know it. There's like so many subconscious reasons why we pick a piece of clothing and put it on. And
Hmm.
sometimes it's great things and sometimes it's not. Like sometimes we wear huge oversized baggy things because we're not comfortable being seen and we're kind of trying to hide
Yes.
ourselves,
Yeah.
or we wear really dark colors because we're trying to get people to take us very seriously because we
Right.
don't take ourselves seriously. Not that you shouldn't wear dark colors. Sometimes that's in full alignment, right? But things like that, like sometimes we don't wear bright prints because we're too afraid to stand out, or we do wear bright prints like me because I'm desperately trying to stand out, like whatever
Hmm.
the reason,
Yeah.
but it all has an impact.
Or you're just dressing the way you've seen everyone dress your whole life
Mm,
because that's just what feels safe.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's because our wardrobe is seriously because it was all cheap, right? We don't put any
Mm.
thought into it, and we've learned how to shop from a very unaligned state. We shop by price, we shop by clearance racks, we shop by convenience. With it's like unconscious thinking. We just grab it.
Which you're not against, right? Because
Not
I've seen you and I've heard you talk about it's not about the label so much as how it's making you feel.
Absolutely. Yeah. Not about the label. I mean, I love a good bargain, but that's not how I shop. So it's always a bonus if it's a good deal. And obviously, it has to be in the right price point and in my budget. And if it's not, then even if it feels a yes for me, I'll say not yet or not right now. But even if it's cheap, like I've been to Forever 21 and been through a whole rack of stuff that is like so and kind of cute, and it's all $2 for each shirt, which is ridiculous. And I'm like, oh, should
Wow.
I just buy it? Oh, should I just buy it? And then suddenly I have a cart full and I've spent $25 on and have 6 or 12 tops that I like just kind of like, and they fill up space in my closet. And I think, why did I get home? And I'm like, why did I buy this? I don't even really like them. I just grabbed it because it was $2 and it's not really in full alignment. It's not a full yes. So it has nothing to do with price or label or brand. It's more like, am I shopping and buying this because it fits who I am and it feels very good on me? And I put it on and I think, ooh, yeah. Or
You
is
know
it
what's
like cost $2? You know?
There's two things I want to share. One is I used to do clothes swaps all the time, and I'm about to do one
Mm.
again soon, which is so much fun
Mhm.
because you can look at other people's stuff that they don't want to wear anymore, and you can be
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, this is a fun new way for me to dress that I didn't even think about."
Yeah.
And it's just fun for everyone to get rid of what they don't want, but then everyone else
Totally.
gets new stuff. So I think that's a great little way of socializing too. But then the other thing is, I was remembering about when I used to be on film sets and they would dress me, and it would always be things that I wouldn't normally wear, and I would want to take it home, but it's just, I wouldn't figure that out for myself. So, is that part? It sounds like that's part of what you can help women to do is to just try something a little bit outside of their comfort zone and then start to own it. And then that
Yeah.
feels like, oh, I now all of a sudden, like I feel a little sassier, I feel a little sexier, I feel a little more confident, a little more bold. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first part of all that is your inner work. It's like figuring out where you feel unexpressed. So that's working with your criticism and judgment on yourself and others. And then it's getting really in tune with your body. It's using breath work, it's using meditation, it's learning to listen. Like you and I have sat through coaching calls where our facilitator is really, really good, at like getting you to stop and getting you to hone into where you're even feeling the tension in your body and listen to what your body tells you. Bodies are geniuses. Bodies are smart. They have all knowing. It's the trick is just us figuring out how to communicate with them. And so doing that and figuring out what fabrics feel good to you, it's like a very sensual aspect too. So we have a mental aspect, a sensual aspect, and then a conscious aspect. Like, are we dressing consciously or unconsciously? And again, thrifting is a really fun exercise for lots of people because it's a great way to like, I mean, just when you go to the store, if you if you really examine a piece, like run your hands over the sleeves, look at the colors and think for a minute, like, what does this represent to me? How does it make me feel? Why am I drawn to this particular piece? And then trying it on and looking in the mirror. And if you look in the mirror and it's a hell yes, then it's a go. But if you look in the mirror and there's even a smidgen of like, I don't know, and you're indecisive and is it worth it? Like that's usually a no. Sometimes we can get goofed up because our no's are shaded by fear and judgment,
Mhm.
but the initial response is not. If you look in the mirror, the first thing you feel is a but then you can be clouded by, oh, but am I am I thin enough for this? Or oh, is it too bright? Or oh, should I spend then all that stuff's like, don't listen to that. You listen to your initial gut, you know?
So when you and I were together, yes, and that's all brilliant and I love it and I'm just got my mind's in a million places. When
Yeah.
you were and I were together, we were talking about the photo shoot that you had done recently and me coming and doing a photo shoot with you. And
Hmm.
I was just starting to process like, well, what would I wear? And I don't even know how and like I've most of my life not shown my legs because
Hmm.
I had a moment where my dad said maybe you shouldn't wear shorts and that was it. And then I
Oh
didn't
my gosh, yes. Oh, we've all had those moments. I had issues with my arms for years and years because of something someone said. So I hear
yeah, and
you.
I don't like
Yeah.
showing my arms and I mean it's and then Maren, which I think this is really important is I don't like showing anything that cleavage wise or with my boobs that anything that's going to be like sexual around my family.
Mm,
And so that's a whole thing. And I think
yeah.
other moms, a lot of them may feel the same way. It's like, I don't want to turn on anyone that I shouldn't be turning on, right? Like, that's a
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I grew up with all that stuff and I have thoughts and rebuttals to all of it. But I totally understand because as a stepmom of two boys, I'm like, you know, have to be conscious of how I'm dressed and how I present, but I'm also like, what message am I really sending them? You know?
Yeah. What's so interesting is that I don't have any problem showing, like, wearing leggings and having my butt be like super just in your face. Like, there's every aspect of my butt, right? So it's just interesting how we're all so different about, like,
Yeah.
I don't have that, but I have this. Like,
Yeah.
so every woman's so unique. And
So
so
different.
What I'm
Yeah.
hearing is you're saying it's like, I'm not the traditional stylist. I'm not going to tell you what to wear. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but I'm going to guide you from the inside out. From the
Yeah.
inside out, I'm going to show you how you can liberate yourself and find more and more and more freedom to truly express in a way that is authentic to you that maybe you didn't even realize.
Yeah. Thank you. You just summed me up perfectly, right? Like because I do remember having that conversation with you and you were like, well, what would I wear? And I was like, I don't know. What do you want to wear? And you're like, well, aren't you going to help me figure that out? And I was like, well, kind of. I help you figure it out for yourself, but I'm not going to tell you what looks good on you, like, so, so
Yeah,
many
like
messages and
for
stories
me,
we
it's
all
like
have there.
I think for so many women, maybe we don't even know where to start.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And we start, here's the thing about traditional stylists, which I have to say I love. Like I think it's all really fun, but I've never paid one bit of attention to it because and I know and people close to me do. And I'm like the minute someone starts telling me what I should and shouldn't wear and what looks good on me and what doesn't look good on me and what colors say like then I start feeling like F that. I don't,
Mm.
it feels limiting, it feels restricting, and it doesn't feel like who I am. I'm versatile. I love freedom. I don't want to be boxed in by anything, and I don't want it to be coming from someone outside of myself. I've had enough of external authority. I've had enough of listening to what other people think they know is best for me, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate other people's opinions, but it's not my authority. My authority is me.
Hmm.
And so traditional stylists, when people don't know where to start, that's our natural inclination is to ask someone else. Well, what should I do? You tell me. You know better than me. What should I wear? And we're still outsourcing, which is what my whole
Yes.
podcast is fighting against, right? Or not, that's not a great word, but it's exploring how can we be our own authority and stop feeling the need for someone else's approval and direction. And so that's a huge important part of my platform is I don't want to tell you what to do. And any really good coach, they won't actually do it for you and they won't tell you what to do. They'll help you figure out how to be your best self. They'll coach you along, they'll guide you along, they'll facilitate along, right? Like as a breathwork facilitator, we can't fix someone. We can't make them feel a certain way. We can only guide them and give them the space to explore and give them the tools and give them the like emotional safety to do that. But that's as far as you and I can go with someone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you don't just want to be another Maren. If I was
Yeah.
coming to you, like, let me just dress like Maren dresses because it's not going to be organic to me. And then I'm going
Yeah,
to
it would
step
feel
away and
inauthentic. You'd feel like an imposter. It'd feel
yeah,
uncomfortable because
yeah,
it's not, you didn't decide for yourself and figure it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so exciting, this work that you're doing. And recently I saw this amazing photo shoot that you did with like this
Mm.
kind of witch theme,
Yeah.
witch like
Yeah.
goddess witches.
Yeah.
Anything you want to share about the inside story on that? Like,
Yeah.
what did you
So
learn?
oh my goodness. Well, that was another very emotional photo shoot for me. So I've had two with this same photographer. She's Untamed Soul Photography. I interviewed her on my podcast, and she's not a traditional photographer. Her whole mission is to capture women connecting to their raw feminine divine, their untamed,
So
real
good.
soul. So we went out to the desert for my initial sand dune shoot, and it wasn't like, okay, this looks really pretty, get in front of the camera. It was like we sat down and we meditated and we played music and she had me breathe and she talked to my higher self and I cried because
Wow.
I was like pent up. I was nervous and uncomfortable being in front of the camera, and she caught so many images of me that I would never traditionally put on a cover because they weren't like the most glamorous shot, but they were really me. And I can
Mm.
see as I look back, like the images where I'm feeling a little tense or I'm feeling a little uncomfortable, and I mean, I've come a long way, but I still have more to go of getting super in touch with embracing my feminine and my divinity and my sexuality, all of that. But that was life changing for me. And then she really wanted to do a witch themed shoot. And so me and her, and then two other friends of ours, who were all kind of aligned spiritually and, our view of the world. Um, and I would consider all of us modern day witches. We went out to the canyon, up the canyon to, no cell phone service. And we crossed the river and we played in the trees and avoided the cow piles because it's free range grazing up, up there. And I had on these giant dresses and we did the same thing. She played music and she talked to us and we pulled a
Wow.
tarot card to help us get in line. And I noticed that as I was doing this shoot with these other women, because it was with them versus myself,
Mhm.
we were doing like, traditionally witches are like very steeped in female friendship and bonds, and we're touchy-feely and we're affectionate and we're sensual and we're connected to the earth and we're raw. And these other two women I were with were very adept at that. And I'm
Mhm.
still really getting in touch with my roots. And so I'm like, snuggling them in the camera, and we're all married, and there's nothing like
Mhm.
untoward about it, but it's
Mhm.
female friendship. And that was a big moment for me. I had to like really breathe myself into it and let it be okay that
Yeah.
I could connect with other people on such a deep raw level. So again, it's like
Mm.
it's an experience. It's not a photo shoot. And I think that's what hopefully comes across in the images she's captured is
Oh
this
yeah.
is me bearing my soul, and
And
that's
I
who I
love how you
am.
guys are in the water at one point with
Yeah,
your
the river.
dresses. Oh my gosh, what was that? I'm
I
fascinated.
know.
Like, were
Well,
you like, oh no, but the dress? Or was it just like, yeah,
we
let's get
made sure the
in?
dresses could get wet, and that they would dry just fine. I had to bring this giant black one I was wearing home and put it in my bathtub and clean it really well.
Okay,
But
okay.
the river wasn't very deep. It was like 6 inches or so, cold. And I just, water is very significant. It's very symbolic for me. It's definitely something I'm always drawn to. And so I really enjoyed standing in it for several minutes and just letting it rush by me and feeling the wind. We went at like dusk. It was very magical to be connected to nature like that so much. And
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
It's looks and sounds incredible in both of those photo shoots.
Thank you.
I want to listen to the episode where you interview the photographer. It
Oh
seems
yes, I
like,
haven't even released it yet.
oh, well, okay, so
It's been a
stay
while, but I
tuned,
haven't released
guys.
it.
Stay
Yeah.
tuned for that on Wild
Yeah.
Serenity.
Hmm.
And it seems like you and her have a lot of magic to do together going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I collaborate with her. She's part of my VIP days and my coaching packages. You can option to include a goddess photo shoot with her at the end of that for another fee. And I guide you
Okay.
like in helping you. I prep you for it with all the stuff we do. So it's kind of like a capstone. Like we've done all the work to get you to be comfortable and uh, feeling seen and feeling heard, and then expressing that, and then you get the captured images of that. So it's another really fun option for people.
That's amazing. Okay, so can you
Yeah.
share a pivotal moment in your journey that helped you connect with your inner goddess and how that experience shapes your work as a glow coach? I mean, I feel like that's
Mm.
literally what we just answered, but if there's something else you want to add, feel free.
Yeah, I do. I feel really strongly about plant medicine.
Hmm.
So I'm not very experienced in it, but I'm very drawn to kind of the world of nature and raw earth and using herbs and natural medicine, and marrying that all with my Western upbringing and beliefs. But I had this moment recently in a plant medicine experience where I had gone into it with my shaman, and had very steep intentions around wanting to work on and heal some residual sexual shame and trauma that I'd experienced. Um, and I was also looking for just general clarity in like feelings of worthiness and getting rid of any leftover stuff from my religious trauma and stepping into that. I just basically wanted to be able to actually embody and feel the full force and love of my own divinity, right? And I had a really
Wow.
hard time connecting to that before. I was getting there, but I still felt like I needed some kind of help unlocking that. And I remember being in this experience and I was, feeling the effects of psilocybin and being guided in a very safe space. And first I couldn't accept my divine feminine when she came to me. I rejected her and I was very ill with it. Um, I couldn't see her. Oh, it's really hard for me to talk about this without crying because it
You
was
can
so spiritual
cry.
and it was so emotional. And I mean, I know that you probably can relate to this with your past experiences too, but just such a
Yeah.
tender feeling of love. But finally, I got to a point in my journey where I was able to see her and feel her. And I realized the reason why I couldn't connect with her earlier is because I was expecting her to be someone else and someone outside of me. I was expecting
Mm.
an external goddess. I was expecting an
Mm.
external form of God, which if I talked to lots of people who've had similar plant experiences, and a lot of them recount experiences like that. And so I think that's what I was expecting, and also the way I was raised, that's what I was looking for. And when she finally came to me, I was looking in a mirror and it was me.
Yeah.
But she was like this all powerful, all expansive, ever flowing, abundant, limitless, peaceful, had a really strong bird symbology behind her. And she had these massive wings that were like so dimensional and so layered, and they were the most powerful things that I'd ever felt and beheld. And she slash I was just up in the sky, and I'm like, if you can see me, I'm lifting my arms up, because that's what I remember, is that physical feeling of my wings being able to carry me and hold me and also everything all around me all at once, and float on the wind and feel the waves of the world and be flexible and okay. And like, it's hard to explain until
It
you can
makes all the sense
experience.
in the world to me because
Yeah.
not only has that been a very, very similar experience to mine a
Mm,
couple of times, is having
mm,
literally being a bird,
mm.
but also interviewing other people and having them describe flying and being a bird. It's
Yes.
really powerful. And
Yes.
to me, it was really the first time noticing the difference between I was so aware of my wings and how I wasn't using them.
Oh,
That I
interesting.
wasn't in my life, that I was choosing. I was so aware of all of the power,
Mm,
but how much I wasn't spreading the wings because I knew how powerful they were and how much I was contracting
wow.
myself.
So interesting.
And then
Yeah.
another one, because of we're talking about water and how much you love water and you relate to the water and the water is so powerful, is another one, just like what you're saying, is being in literally in my bathtub and being like, I am a mermaid birthing for humanity, like having that
Mm,
visceral experience of like, okay, what am I birthing here for humanity? Like, so I think those kinds of powerful experiences are absolutely, like, you will never ever be the same, and you will never
no, I will never be the
forget.
same.
You will
Yeah.
never forget that knowing of your power.
Yes. And that's what it was. And so actually just when you mentioned water, that kind of towards that once I was able to express and or experience and feel my divine feminine as my kind of bird warrioress, towards the end of my journey, I was able to connect back down to my earthly form. And I was like simultaneously her, my all expansive, limitless, complete love radiating self. And I was also connected to my who I am here down on earth and my earthly form. Um, I remember describing it as I'm having a total Jesus moment where I'm on this churny storm ocean water and I'm floating. I'm like my feet are in the water, but I'm standing and I'm taking it and I'm okay. And I'm in the turbulent winds of life. And I'm in this white dress from my sand dune shoot, and I'm connected like there's like an invisible line going right from my center of that earthly form all the way up to the sky bird form, and it's light and beautiful and that kind of dusty blue era. And I was able to feel the limitless and expansion and abundance and perfect wisdom and love of that person, and also feel totally connected to who I am here and
Mm.
feel like the grounded purposeness of that, and they weren't separate anymore. That makes
Oh,
sense. And I think
yes.
so the pivotal moment finally being able to unlock and like really embrace was feeling, I think it was confirmation of what I hoped to be true, but because of my past conditioning, I hadn't been able to really let myself know it. And this was like the final, yes, I know it. And since then, I've been able to easily slip back into meditation and feel all that experience all over again as if I was deep under. And I even catch myself sometimes with my arms out, like wings, like
I'm a bird. I'm a
yes, like
bird.
just feeling. I'm still doing it. I can't not do it. I just feeling that power and that love. And I don't think that necessarily you need to experience plant medicine to get there. But for me, I did. And for me, it was a very spiritual, important part of my journey and certainly the most life-changing. So,
Wow. I am so honored that you had such a validating experience
mm,
for yourself and that it was so visceral and so powerful and that you can drop back into it anytime you want and that you still feel the effects of it and you're still spreading your wings and that you had that experience of fully integrating that higher goddess self with the human self. And I've never heard it quite described in that particular way, that kind of integration. That's really a beautiful image. And that actually just helped me integrate it for myself too. So thank you
mm.
for that. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. I remember describing that to my facilitator, and she was like, that's what we call being grounded. It's it's like you're connected to your purpose and earthly self and also able to feel all the limitless of your non-physical soul. And I was like, oh, okay, that's finally I did it. Finally
You
was able to
connected heaven and earth.
yeah. It is like that. It is. Yeah.
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 Yeah. You're the
Mm.
conduit for heaven and earth.
And we all are.
We
It's
all are.
just we're born like that, like innocent little babies. They're not worried about any of the stuff we are worried about. They radiate total pure love and innocence and joy. Like you step into a NICU ward in a hospital and you cannot not be affected. There's such a special feeling. Babies, they carry that with them, and then we forget as we grow up and our environment keeps conditioning us. But I don't feel like it's ever gone. Right? Glow is never gone from someone. We all have it. We just hide it, or we diminish it, or we smudge it, or we push it down. But all it takes is some polish and we're back at it.
Oh my goodness, we have to end there. That is absolutely divine. Okay. Thank you, Maren, so much for bearing your whole authenticity, your heart, your soul, your deep experiences of who you truly are and how you've gotten there and how you're helping other women and saying, come with me, because I'm doing this and I'm having these moments of courage and you can too.
Mhm.
It's really special and it's really important. It's really important that you're on the mission that you're on, helping women to go through their own specific, unique transformations for themselves so that they can glow from the inside out and feel more confident in their lives and feel
Thank
more
you.
expressed and feel more authentic. It's really important work. It's really beautiful how you're doing it, your specific approach. And it's really inspiring seeing you transform so quickly in the way that you're transforming, even in the short time that I've known you, and how fast you're just accelerating into this new version of you so that you can lead the way for these women.
Oh, thank you. I want to say one thing as we're ending
Yeah,
here,
yes.
because you specifically and a few other people were very instrumental in helping me figure out who I am and what I'm good at and what I do have to offer. And you are a master healer. You have programs you offer, gosh, podcasting, Reiki, Akashic, like you do all these things and you hold,
Manifesting generators here,
right? I'm
you
like,
and
well,
me.
and you hold safe containers for women and bring women together live to do things like that. And I do the same with my expertise. And that I think is actually even more than the information we give these people, even more than the actual teaching and the actual download, more than anything, what the magic is the relationships and the camaraderie and the support that you get just from being in a live container like that. Like I have purchased several pre-recorded programs that have amazing information, and I have a really hard time doing them and finishing them, because what
Mm.
I'm missing is the actual transformation of being seen and being heard, right? At the
Yep. You can't
core of,
replace that.
you
Yes.
can't, at the core of what you and I do, even though we have different strengths and different things we're working on with women
Mhm.
or people, that's what actually it's all about, is being seen and being heard. And so kudos, to you for the space that you offer people, but I also, what you did for me is you made me feel seen and heard, and you helped me feel and see and hear myself so that I could level up and then offer my glow to others.
Oh my
So
God,
I feel like
Maren.
that's an important thing I want to stress, is like this: we women are insanely powerful. We have such unique gifts. And the biggest gift we have is this ability to love others. And that's really what loving is. It's not changing, it's not accepting, it's seeing and hearing. That's so,
I knew
that's what
this
I
was
feel
gonna
like is.
be I knew this was gonna be a fun interview, but I didn't realize it was gonna be so transformational and emotional.
It's been emotional and transformational for me too. I love your energy and the friendship we have. So thank you.
Oh, I can't wait to keep growing with you and to be
Mhm.
your roomie on our next adventure that's coming up next month. I can't wait to release this episode and share it with all of my women friends, because it's really important that we take those next little courageous steps on our journey, whatever that is, whether it's like meditation or breathwork or working with a glow coach, that we're important, we matter. And
Yeah.
us prioritizing ourselves from the inside out in the way that you and I have been doing makes the difference, not only for ourselves, but for our families, for our partners, for our lineage, for the people that that have gone ahead of us and that will go in front of us, and that we raise them up and rise them up, and we raise the whole glow of the planet. I mean, not to be too dramatic here, but yes, we do raise the whole glow of the planet
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
we go first and we decide, I matter, I'm going to glow from the inside out, I'm going to take those steps, I'm going to make myself a priority, and I'm going to invest in myself in a way that I would easily invest in my children
Yeah.
if they needed something. So it's time for mama to
Hmm.
get something she needs, because everyone
And
benefits.
yeah, and here's, okay, my last, I promise this time it's my last parting thought, but what you were saying really made me feel like I needed to say this. So the only way we can actually see and hear other people is if we do it to ourselves first, because
Yes.
we can only see with our own vision, right? And if we are stunted inside, we can only offer so much to other people's, to our children, to our spouses, to
Preach.
our friends, and right. And so that's
Yep.
why I think it's so important that we do put ourselves first, because that's the only way we can actually help people receive the love that they are capable, that they deserve.
Yeah, we are
Yeah.
stepping out of the martyr paradigm and we're
Yeah.
stepping into the individuated goddess era
Yeah.
where we're gonna rise up because our women are rising up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And think how much we've just lost that on our planet. Men took over and women were put off to the side and repressed, but the world is changing and it's going to be better.
Hmm.
It's going to be glorious.
It is glorious. So
Mhm.
you guys get onto, what's your Instagram handle?
Find Wild Serenity. Yeah.
Okay,
It's my Instagram. But probably if you go to my website and sign up on my email list, you'll be way better connected.
got it.
And be able to keep up with what I'm doing, or listen to my podcast. Even, algorithms on social media, like you, you miss a lot of what you're hoping to see. And instead, I'm bombarded by fancy dress ads most of the time. I don't ever get to see my friends. So,
Do you want
yeah.
me to put your email in the show notes as well?
Sure. Or if they just want my freebie, the instant glow up, the guide, it's how to shop your own closet for an effortless no spend makeover. You can start glowing up right now. You don't have to throw everything out and go to the store. You don't have to spend a fortune getting new stuff. You can actually start doing this with what you have. And I teach you how to do that in my guide. And you can sign up for that and get it free. And then you'll be automatically added to my email list. Yeah.
Okay, and we get that through your website.
Yep. You can just go right
Okay.
to my homepage, or we can link in the show notes.
Okay, beautiful. So
Yeah.
MarenSwensen.com. That sounds fantastic. All right, guys, we're going to keep talking. But I'm going to stop recording. Thank you for listening. Keep slowly expanding your capacity to feel good. You are so worthy and whole because you exist. Thank you for listening. Love you guys, and we'll see you soon.